Hey you guys, welcome to my channel. So if you've been following me for a while, you may have seen this journal. This is a journal that I use only for my travels. So anytime I go out of town or go on vacation, I will journal about it in this journal. So I have about 6 pages left, and I wanted to go ahead and finish it up today with my trip to Savannah that we just recently took over July 4th weekend. So if you've never heard of Savannah, Savannah is a beautiful port city on the east coast of Georgia, but it is most well known for being one of the most haunted cities in America. So naturally, I love it there. There are antique shops all over the place, and I did find some really cool stuff down there. We only stayed for a couple of days, so I'm actually going to number the days that we went down there and what we did on those days. I used this journal chronologically, so I started from page 1 and just went all the way through to the back. So I am at the back of the book now. I really do kind of enjoy working chronologically in certain journals, especially this one, since it documents my travels from 2020 all the way to now. So it's kind of cool to look back on, and everything's in the order in which I took the trip. I do jump around a lot in this journaling session just because I have no idea what I'm doing. I just kind of got out a ton of things that I thought maybe I could use on the page. I just really had a lot of pictures. I did have a few flowers that I gathered, but I don't really have a lot of ephemera to put on the pages. So I am trying to dress up the pages as much as I can with the pictures that I have. So on the first day, we were driving. So I had a picture of the kids with the dog in the back seat because we brought the dog along with us because I just didn't have anybody to watch him. And so I have like a little beagle mix. I'm not sure exactly what he is. I rescued him, but he is a sweet dog. He just laid on top of the kids for the entire trip. It was about a 4-hour ride out there. So on the second day, we actually went into the city of Savannah and we visited one of the cemeteries out there. This cemetery, and all of them are just gorgeous. They all have like old Victorian style statues and like just really old graves. They're beautiful. It was common in the Victorian era actually to go and just have a picnic in the cemetery. They called them gardens. So I thought that was really interesting, and I learned that while I was down there. So I don't have much ephemera from this day other than the parking pass from when we paid to park. But I'm just sticking that under that photo of the cemetery and just adding a label, and that's really all I can fit on this page. The pages are really small, so that kind of is nice, especially when you only have some pictures, which is why I decided to make this my travel journal and not journal in it from like my regular life. So I'm just putting a few pictures of my kids. They had like a little kiosk where they were letting kids make bracelets and little hats and stuff for the 4th of July. So I took pictures of them making things and tucked them in that little envelope, and I'll do something with that in a moment. So this is actually a postcard that I had already, but it reminds me so much of the city, and I just really like the way it looks. So I'm going to actually make that a tuck spot on this page, and that's all that I can fit on that page. now I'm just trying to work out what I want to tuck under there. I decided to go with this time card because it's just like ledger paper and it's easy for me to do some journaling under there. So this little fabric flip was already in the journal. I didn't make this journal. I actually this was my first junk journal that I ever bought. So yeah, she put like a little fabric flip there, which I'm going to do something kind of different with that in a moment. These little stars my son drew. I actually do end up tucking those into that envelope as well later on off camera. But I am going to use that blue star on this page in a moment. So I stapled down that fabric flip off to the side to kind of make it look like a curtain. This is a photo of my kids in a little alley on River Street, which is a very, very popular street in Savannah. It's a cobblestone street. The stones that make up the cobblestone street were actually ballast material on ships when they, it's kind of like to steady the ship. And so they just unloaded those stones when they arrived in Savannah and created a street out of them. So this is one of the original streets of Savannah when they founded Georgia in 1733. Savannah also has tunnels, and a lot of them are pirates' tunnels, but some of them are Underground Railroad tunnels, which I just find fascinating. There's a tunnel under a church, and they had like a pattern in the floor where when they were walking through the tunnel, they could look up and see this pattern in the floor and know that it was a safe place for them to come up and get food or water or whatever they needed. So, yeah, that was a really cool sight to see. I actually saw that when I was a kid. We took a trip, like a field trip to Savannah when I was a kid. So, yeah, it was just really fascinating to see that as a kid, and it stood out to me, and I still remember it to this day. And a history lesson, not even that you intended to have, but you naturally get it in a place like this. So yeah, this city is fascinating. The history of the city is absolutely fascinating. There's probably a ton more that I don't know and that I haven't said because this isn't a history lesson. I'm just telling you. The next day, we went to Jekyll Island, which is where we normally go on vacation, and that is an island off the coast of Georgia as well. It's about 45 minutes from Savannah, and so we wanted to take little Luna to the beach for the first time. So we went out there and spent a few hours out there. We stayed down there with my aunt. She lives about halfway between Savannah and Jekyll Island, and we stayed with her, and she is a breeder of dogs, so she has tons of dogs in her house. And I don't know how she does it. It was good for my dog because he made friends, and they're all good dogs, but they are loud. So, but it was fun. It was fun. I'm highly allergic to cats, and she has cats as well, and they come in and out of the house, and so I started having breathing problems. I have asthma, so it just got really bad. So we weren't able to stay there as long as I had intended, but it was fun, and it was good to be around my family for a few days and spend 4th of July with her as well. I'm using this embossed card that I have, but I actually wanted to write on the back of it, make it kind of like a journaling card. So I'm using double-sided tape to stick this plain note card on the back side of the embossed card, just to give myself somewhere to write that is flat. I actually offer these note cards in my shop right now. I cabbage dyed this note card and then embossed it, and then I also offer avocado dyed and coffee dyed embossed cards, and all sorts of things, so definitely check that out if you're interested. And I'm just decorating the page with a couple of little things. So I'm just putting the number 3 down for day 3. And I am going to go ahead and move on to day 4. I have this card. This came from one of the Tim Holtz packs. I'm not entirely sure which one. I'll try to link all of these little pieces in the description box below, because I used a ton of Tim Holtz stuff on these pages. So yeah, I'll try to link that in the description box so you can find it easily if you're interested. But this card just reminded me of downtown Savannah, so I wanted to put that down just as a decoration on the page. It's not really going to serve me any purpose. I picked up this flyer while we were out there, so I think it's just a map of antique shops around the area, or maybe just a map of Savannah altogether. So I went ahead and just used that as a background paper on my page and used double-sided tape to stick that down. So here I am going to tuck a little journaling card. I ended up having to switch the business cards and the journaling card around because it wouldn't fit. So I stuck that in that little envelope and put the business cards in the back envelope. And those business cards are just to a couple places that we went on the 4th day of our trip. This is actually a parking receipt again, and I really liked this little 2-hour limit piece that came out of one of the Tim Holtz packs. And I'm also sticking a few pieces of receipts that I got while we were out walking around the city, just to a couple of places that we went. We did go to an antique mall, and I found a daguerreotype photo, which I have been looking for forever. They're really hard to find. These photos are the first photos that were ever taken, and they were printed on a mirror. So just a really cool photo. I'll try to show you guys on Instagram so you can see it, because it's just so cool. This is another flyer that I picked up while we were out there. We didn't actually go on a ghost tour, but I really like this photo because it says DAR on it, which is Daughters of the American Revolution, and I am actually a daughter of the American Revolution, so I just think that is really cool. If you don't know what Daughters of the American Revolution are, it just means that we have a direct ancestor that fought in the American Revolution. So my family has been in America for a very, very long time. So now I'm getting into my most favorite cemetery that we visited. We went to a cemetery called Bonaventure Cemetery, which is well known for being one of the most haunted cemeteries in America. And this cemetery is so creepy. It is so creepy, but it is so fascinating. There are tons of statues and tons of symbolism all throughout this cemetery. So I'm putting pictures of some of the more notable things to me. One of the coolest things that I found out about this cemetery was that some of the people may have been buried alive. And so this cemetery was built in around 1800. So it's a very old cemetery. So the reason they know that there were some people that may have been buried alive is they were finding scratch marks on the inside of caskets, which I know is just like horrible to think about, but it is fascinating. So one of the things that they have out there, which I couldn't actually find, I found this photo online, but there are bells hanging on the outside of graves, and the bell was attached to a string that was attached to the finger of the deceased person. And if the person woke from their coma and they were buried alive, they could ring the bell and somebody would save them. And so that expression, saved by the bell, actually came from them ringing the bell. And also the family members who buried their loved ones, they would hire somebody to watch the grave to make sure that bell didn't ring, which is where the term graveyard shift came from. So that is a really cool little fact that I didn't know until we went down there. I also took pictures of this girl's statue. Her name was Gracie, and she is known to haunt the Regions Bank, which used to be her father's hotel a long time ago. I think that's right. But she was 6 years old when she died. She died from pneumonia. And so it's just, I don't know why, she just has a piece of my heart. But I guess because she was 6 years old, and that's just tragic to me. A couple of the other pictures that I have here is a picture of the tallest obelisk in the cemetery. It is 55 feet tall. And then I also have a picture of a cradle grave, which obviously is symbolism for a child passing away at a very young age. And unfortunately, back in the Victorian era, when this cemetery was built, it was very common. In fact, I think 54% of children under the age of 5 did not survive. So yeah, that was a very common thing to see in that cemetery. This picture is a picture of an empty crypt. And the reason why it's so significant is because it was grave robbed back in the early 1900s. And so they stole all of the family members' remains, as well as all of their fortunes that they kept in the crypt. So this crypt just lies empty now. But you can see where the tools left marks on the outside of the crypt. So now I am journaling about July 4th. We left the cemetery and went directly to Jekyll Island, where we went to watch the fireworks. We actually shot off fireworks at my aunt's house the night before, and the baby loved it. She didn't freak out at all. She loved it. So she just thought that it was really pretty. She kept looking up in the sky when they would go off. So I'm just doing a little bit of journaling about that. And that is a piece of the packaging from something I ate while we were down there, and the ticket to get on Jekyll Island. That's all I had from that day. So now I'm just going back through the pages and adding some things in spaces where I feel like there needs to be something else. A few labels here and there and things like that. This is the Bird Girl, which is actually on the cover of a book called Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. And it was so popular to go visit this statue that the family had to take the statue to a museum because people were vandalizing the cemetery. And so now I'm just stapling on a few flowers that I have. I just used some self-laminating sheets and stuck the flowers in there, and I'm just stapling them where I feel like there needs to be something else. So I hope you enjoyed watching me and hearing all the history about Savannah. I really enjoyed going down there, and I really enjoyed journaling about all of this because history is just kind of one of those things that I really like, and I think you kind of have to feel that way if you go to antique shops as much as I do. You just start to love history. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to showing you the final flip through of this journal as well as my regular personal journal in a few days. I plan on getting that video out for you guys and then starting a new journal thereafter. So yeah, definitely look forward to that, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.